Sanity. Today we have a lot to cover. Tonight though, we're going to be drinking some Allagash White. It's a Belgian-style wheat beer from Allagash Brewery out of Portland, Maine. So everybody pull up a chair, open up your favorite beverage, let's sit down, let's discuss the topics calmly and sanely. Secondly, not bad camera work. This is how I'm filming it. This is how I choose to film it. Sorry for now. Also, subscribe below, follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Send your local instances of political insanity to politicalsanitynow@gmail.com. Our first issue we're going to talk about is this Gamestop debacle. So, the Reddit army decided to F with the hedge fund managers. That's basically what happened. And they drove up the price of GameStop, forcing the hedge funds to lose billions of dollars, presumably. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the risks of the free market. This is what happens, and this is what could happen. Reddit army did nothing wrong, right? No different than a stock website suggesting stocks. It was 100% wrong for investment firms such as Robinhood to halt trading of GameStop. Entirely wrong, entirely insane. This is part of the free market. Sometimes you're the bug, sometimes you're the windshield. It also raises a lot of questions. Was there something else behind this? Is this a nefarious act? Was there some other influence on Robinhood's decision? Let's look at this a little bit. Melvin Capital lost 53% in January, mostly, not totally, due to this GameStop debacle. In June, $39 million of Robinhood's profit came from equity trades from Citadel Capital. Right? That's 35% of Robinhood's revenue. Citadel is an investor in Melvin. I'm not going to say something's wrong here, but it definitely raises questions, and it's something that has to be looked into. And there's no excuse for what Robinhood did. And unfortunately, I believe they're losing customers, and they're coming under a lot of scrutiny for this. I'm going to let you guys make your own decision on that. Let's now look at this issue of executive orders. Executive orders, totally legal. You know, needed in emergency situations when we can't wait for congressional approval. Such as time we're in now, COVID and a pandemic. Several executive orders were signed because this pandemic was fast moving and we can't wait for congressional approval or for Congress to come together and agree on something. However, is this a form of political insanity? Are both parties, Republicans and Democrats, using the executive order to circumvent Congress? Again, the executive order benefits both those that are for the issue and both that are against the issue. Those that are for will say, look what we did. Let's take, for example, the border wall. Those that were for the border wall said, oh, look what we did. President Trump came through on a promise. And those that are against will flip this. Look what they did. All right? Oh, look what they did. They'll point the finger. This was all them. Is this a situation that's leading up to our current situation of parties not being able to talk to each other and come to an agreement? This is definitely part of that, a reason for that. You know, the Republicans don't want to get together with the Democrats because, you know, the Democrats are going to put it through by executive order, and the Republicans, you know, are going to point the finger and say, look what they did. And vice versa. It works both ways. This is not a Republican issue, it's not a Democrat issue. This is both parties, using this to their advantage. And in effect, it's hurting us. Something astonishing, though, I was reading. President Biden, in his first 11 days in office, signed 22 executive orders. That is more than double the last 3 presidents combined. The numbers were Donald Trump signed 5 in his first 11 days, Obama 5, and George W. Bush signed 0. There's an inherent problem in the executive order. These issues are not set in law. These are political issues. These then become political issues through the executive order, right? It's not set in stone. It's like a Secretary of State. One president appoints John Doe Secretary of State. Next president comes in, fires John Doe, and hires Mary Doe to be Secretary of State. That's what happens with certain politicized executive orders. And let's look at one executive order that affects real people, right? Working people. And that's the executive orders regarding the Keystone Pipeline. Okay, the Keystone Pipeline is an oil pipeline between Canada and Nebraska. It was permitted through an executive order signed by President Trump and then revoked on President Biden's first day in office. It's estimated that 11,000 jobs and $2 billion in wages are lost now because of this Biden revocation. It's not entirely President Biden's fault, right? This was an issue politicized. This was an executive order that was politicized, right? Trump, pro-oil workers. Biden, pro-environment. So now what do we have? We have 11,000 people out of jobs. Had both sides gotten together, compromised, came up with a solution, passed a law, this would not happen, or it'd be much more difficult for this to happen. Now, these real people are now in the middle of a political football. Again, this is insane. Something has to be done about this. Had this been a law, this would not be allowed to occur this easily. Third topic is going to be our local example of political insanity. This comes to us from our friends on the West Coast in Los Angeles. Saturday, anti-vaccine protesters shut down the COVID vaccination site at Dodger Stadium for about an hour. This is insane, right? You're playing with people's lives here. Yes, protesting, protected by the First Amendment. Protest all you want. Do not block the site. Do not prevent people, most of whom are extremely vulnerable to this COVID, from getting this vaccine. Getting a vaccine is a personal choice and should be respected, right? Whether you want to get the vaccine because you're vulnerable, you're a first responder, you're a frontline healthcare worker, and you feel it necessary to protect you and your family, or you're against the vaccine because you feel it's unsafe, you believe there's metal particles in it used to track you. Whatever your reasoning is, it's a personal choice. These protesters screwed with someone's life by doing this, and they threatened someone's life, and that they can't do. They can protest all you want, you can protest all you want, but it's insane to block a vaccination site during a pandemic, which affects millions of people. Thank you for watching. All right. Send your examples of political insanity to politicalsanitynow@gmail.com. Very important that you subscribe to this channel. This is how this movement gets legitimized and we can bring attention to sanely discussing political issues. right? And that we're sick of the insanity in politics, the left versus the right. We want everyone to come together and let's talk about our issues calmly and sanely. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay politically safe.